What does it mean to be in community with one another? What do we mean when we talk about mutual aid? How do we really support each other? What does it look like to support each other individually, in a community, collectively, and across vast stretches of land and oceans and things like that? Like how do we really divest from the systems of oppression that keep us in place and create environments, communities for the people? And what is the role of music and art in all of that? And how was that all intertwined? Welcome to Conversations for the People with Matthew Solomon. I'm Matthew Solomon, and I'm really excited today for our guest, Daii Dreamiin, who is from Detroit. Daii is part of General Strike U.S. We met through the Black Panther Party of Washington State, who's hosted many screenings of Reimagining Safety, and they connected me with Daii months ago. We just had a screening in Detroit. It was our 63rd screening of Reimagining Safety. And in addition to being an activist and an organizer and really super knowledgeable and educated on all of this stuff, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Daii is also a musician and an artist and a lyricist and uh, spiritualist. So I invite you to listen in. Please like and share and subscribe and do all those things. But listen in. Please welcome Daii Dreamiin. And welcome Daii Dreamiin to Conversations for the People. I'm so honored to have you. Just for the folks that are watching and listening, we were connected through the Black Panther Party in Washington State, who've done a bunch
hmm
of screenings of Reimagining Safety, and they connected me with you. I forget how many months ago, and you're with General Strike U.S. in Detroit, and put an awesome screening together in a park, which was great. I was bummed because I we were dealing with COVID and stuff here, so it's the first time I wasn't able to make it out, and I was so sad not to be there. But we've connected. We've been talking for months. You've been a part of the like coalition calls we do from Reimagining Safety, and so it just
hmm
really I'm uh excited to have a conversation with you and talk about what you're doing and share with folks, and kind of get the word out. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and holding the space.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So if you would, like so you're in Detroit
hmm
and I know you have stuff coming up with General Strike. Like what are you working on right now? What is your focus right now?
At the moment, we're still trying to build like a local coalition. So just trying to get work with orgs on all fronts. What's coming up is working with the unhoused community, just targeting houseless communities, and at least trying to feed the people there, or get organize them, and hopefully get their support because they have a voice as well in this general strike movement. So that's what we're focused on coming up, as well as networking with local orgs. Like I say, on all fronts, as far as food sovereignty, educational wise, and things of that nature.
Awesome. And so like how did you get involved with this? Like what was the process that got you to what you're doing now?
It really started off as searching, just searching for an outlet. Joined the General Strike U.S. early in 2023. I believe it was like late January, early February. I was actually on one of our partners' Discords, Moneyless Society. So I was on their Discord, networking, talking, and I just seen, a post, the General Strike U.S. And ever since then, I found that as a great outlet to, direct my focus in and help to empower my community. And, through networking with the General Strike U.S., we tend to reach out to orgs, grassroots orgs, and initiatives nationwide. And that's how I actually, got affiliated with the Black Panther Party in Tacoma, Washington. So it's been a journey, to say the least. But it's been a great journey, because the connections that I've made since has helped, molded my initiatives now. It's helped direct them, and the solutions, the goals are clear. So much more clear than it was when I first started in 2023.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing, like in a short time. Cause for me, it's funny. I was on a plane a few days ago and I was talking to the person next to me, and both of us were like, 2020 is like
Mhm.
anything before that is a whole other time. And so everything in the last 4 years has been very fast and a lot, like a lot. And for you saying like 2023 things have changed, yeah, it's kind of unbelievable how much happens in a
Mhm.
year, you know. I really enjoy or inspired by your posts on Instagram, and I think you're on TikTok also, but there, you do like,
Yeah.
videos and stuff, and it's all, for the people, and you talk a lot about these, all of these things, and cashless society, and
Mhm.
uh, you know, taking care of one another, and divesting, divesting from systems, which in my journey, like that's where I've come to, where it's like, yeah, the system is not for the people. Like we gotta find ways to do our own thing in community. So I would love it, anything you want to share about that, and how you got there. Like, have you always thought that way, or was there something that brought you there? And then what does that look like even?
I guess most of us, most revolutionaries, organizers come in and say it's like we've always had this feeling. I guess it's just in us, at a young age, and just looking at our material conditions, and since a young child, and just trying to understand why it becomes like a experiment scientific method. We're going through, our hypothesis. We're experimenting, coming up with, our own thesis, and this is all without, the clear understanding of, how things are interconnected. For so long, I've thought, things weren't connected. They just happen, or this is happening because it's just happening in this area, and it's not affecting this other community. But growing up, you see everything is connected, and I think that's what got me on this journey. It started from, religion. I grew up in the church, and, me being Black, me being homosexual, just seeing the contradictions within, growing up in the church, and how it affects my community, and, how we're seeking heaven after death, but we're not, making the moves to create it while we're here. So I believe that was like the first contradiction that really got me going, and just seeing the own contradictions within my own community, as how um, we say, we're tired of a boot being on our necks, but we tend to even oppress each other. I've been, stereotyped and judged in my own community, for my sexuality, and things of that nature, and it just gave me a lot of lenses to view the world from. And I believe just seeing, as I grew up, and just seeing the different paths that me and my peers were taking, or the traps that were actually out there, sometimes so blatant, but we didn't have the defense, we didn't have the armor, the right tools to combat them. A lot of times we succumb to these traps. Um, we can say we've accepted the lifestyle, but I don't know. I felt like we can do better. I've always known we can do better. And then I got into looking into my history, my culture, and I ran across all the freedom fighters of the past. And that's where I really found a lot of my answers, like, oh, these things are happening because we are clearly under attack.
Mhm.
And so, once it became like that, I gained that clarity. I'm like, oh, we have to arm ourselves. I have to be a defender of my community. I have to be that warrior. So I just started making the connections, and I believe 2021. I started 2020. I can say even back when I lost my grandmother. So when I lost my grandmother in 2011, and I just started losing like people closest to me. I lost my brother due to addiction. That was like 2 or 3 years ago, and by me noticing everything is connected, I started to say, hey, with the organizing the general strike, we can definitely tackle many injustices at once. And because we are the resistance, it's time for us to act and, act with a sense of urgency, and with the understanding that this is a class war and we have to take this serious. And this is a life or death situation, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Uh, I'm sorry for your losses. And
Mm,
that's one of the things, one of the hypocrisy that you mentioned, like that was a big thing for me at a young age, like, 5, 6 years old. And then, up until this point, and then the losses, losing people close to me
mhm,
and then not really understanding why more people don't like connect the dots, like from one struggle to the next, how you were saying, like it's all interconnected. And
mhm,
I've shared this before, but it's like when I wrote a book about the Me Too movement, and some people loved me, some people hated me, but those people that stuck around when it came to BLM in 2020, some of those people that loved me hated me, and some of
mhm.
those stuck around. And now with Gaza and the genocide there, is like it's a whole other um departure of people who loved me, and now and for me, like you were saying, like it's all the same. So when there's liberation movements that are that exclude the LGBTQ plus community,
Mhm,
it's like, what are you doing? you know
mhm.
so I appreciate you saying all of that and connecting all of that.
No
One of
problem.
the other things that we have in common is the art music side, because
Mhm.
as a musician, which it was years ago, but but that's where a lot of us would interact, and it's multicultural, and it's we're working together and creating music and art
Absolutely.
and on stage, and I love you because I didn't really know about your music until recently, which is really awesome.
Mhm.
And it makes sense because so many abolitionists are artists and musicians. So I love it if you, just kind of share about that also.
No problem. So my music is like a direct reflection of my journey. When I first started doing music, it was low vibrational. I can't say, but that's because the place that I was in. I was just being a product of my environment. I started out doing music with my family. So me and my cousins, we grew up in the church, like I said. Sunday praise and worship, was that time where we got to let loose. But as we got older, we started expressing ourselves. We gravitated towards music, spoken word, rap, and we that's how we connected. That's how we coped with our material conditions, and so we started off in that. Just like I say, being a reflection of our environment. And the more that I rose in consciousness, you can start to see my music shifting. So it started off very low vibrational, and I was always into poetry. I felt like I always limited myself. I dumbed down my lyrics a lot. The people who I was doing features with and things of that nature. But once I broke apart, from doing music with others who weren't particularly as open-minded as myself, I started to grow as a artist. I started to incorporate spirituality into my music. I started to somewhat try to use my music as a tool to be a voice of the oppressed, to help people raising consciousness themselves. As of recent, I just, released two features. I believe it was earlier this year and last year. The most recent one is Books of War. Um,
Mm.
it was a actually I did a cover to the original Wu Tang, RZA, MF Doom, Books of War. You can hear the instrumental, and also I've done a song called Rise Up. Just really just blatantly telling the people to rise up. But yeah, I would love to see my music progress. I've just been really focused on organizing and trying to get some type of solid foundation with this chapter, this Detroit General Strike U.S. chapter, and also the resources. I'm just going to be very transparent.
Yeah.
I slowed down on my music a lot because of my living conditions, my current conditions. You know, I've lost. I want to say I've lost, but I've seen how you know music is being weaponized, especially mainstream, and is being commodified. And it pushes, as many artists say, it pushes a lot of talented people, individuals out of the light. So it's a little bit harder for, especially if you're doing conscious music. It's a little bit harder for you to get out there. Pay for studio fees and
Mhm.
paying for recording time and videos. It's like $300-400 for a video and things of that nature. So I just started to fall back. I was in survival mode. It was either do this song or pay my rent. So it's
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I was really put in situations like that. So yeah, I would hope to get back into, the studio and things of that nature. I tend to just, do music in my spare time. Do it for when it's requested for friends and comrades. So yeah, music is always to me a tool to, communicate and to resist and be a tool of resistance for the status quo. So I encourage anyone, don't let, us be discouraged, by how music has become a arm of capitalism. We can create our
Yeah.
own music. We can support each other. I would love to see groups out there who are revolutionary and try to reclaim spaces for artists to actually record or do mutual aid for artists, when it comes to videos and things of that nature, especially for those who are trying to get their message to the people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up also because it's, as artists, there's um, especially like unless you're a big artist, there's rarely funding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, honestly, like in my experience, there's rarely respect from people who aren't artists, because they're like, oh, you're just playing around or whatever. But yet they
Yeah,
consume, like they're happy to consume everything,
yeah.
but not seeing it as a important creation that actually contributes to society. And then, like you were saying, the weaponization of music that I mean, I actually um thought I was done with film. I considered myself done with
Mm-hmm.
film. I was writing and directing. I was trying to get movies made. And then, I started working in conflict resolution. And then when the pandemic started, I went back to school and was like, I'm done with entertainment. I just want to be able to help support social change, right?
Yeah.
Positive social change. And then reimagining safety came out of it completely unexpectedly as, a vehicle to help support that. And so
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like, I definitely want to do more documentaries, but it's also like what can we do, with scripted projects, because the powers that be and what they say is gonna sell, it's like the
Mm-hmm.
same old stuff, unless you're like, you know, um, uh, like Jordan Peele, who can get movies made now, right?
Yeah.
But it's rare, unfortunately. But we also have other avenues to, other distribution outlets where we can
Mm-hmm.
share our work. But then how do we get funded to do more and to get that supported? So yeah, it's always that. And then being activists also, there's rarely sufficient funding for like what you're doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So what are like, um I know you mentioned mutual aid, you mentioned, having outlets to like, what in in your vision of what we can create, like what does that look like?
I would say just a collective of individuals, especially artists, just coming, setting up some type of third space, specifically for artists to come, possibly utilize instruments or utilize equipment to do videos and things of that nature. Um, I think that we should, the Black Panthers, and this is what we did, even with setting up this screening. Although we may not have access to, a lot of resources, we utilize the tools of our surroundings. So no matter what that is, even if it's a phone, I personally did videos on my cell phone, and I don't have a iPhone. I have an Android. So by
Mhm.
any means necessary,
Yeah.
just connecting with one another, possibly like setting up some type of chat, for artists. Hey, I'm doing this. Would you all be able to support or come out to this show? Um, the same thing we typically do. In our activism and our organizing, but it can be possibly for mutual aid for anything, mutual aid for individuals interested in cooking or who don't have the resources, or individuals who paint, things of that nature. And I believe that we are headed in that direction. Um, it's a lot of groups out there, even the General Strike U.S, with our resource and skills directory, just the use of these things, we're able to develop, like I say, coalitions and build connections for initiations like this, mutual aid for artists and things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then, so I know you wanted to talk about the screening. So I was just curious, like,
Mhm.
how that was, how that, came about. I know there were some challenges, but also, how was it received?
So we can talk about how it was received first, and then
Mhm.
dive over to the challenges. To be honest, Matthew, the film moved so many people, and just a shout out to you and everyone who was involved for, beautifully, laying it out from having multiple perspectives. And these are just some of the, responses that I've got, when we were actually screening it. The people appreciated so many different perspectives in the film. Also, they appreciated, the solutions that were laid out as far as the pillars of power, how we can actually defund the police, how we
Mhm.
can move towards it, and how it can be utilized in different communities and different spaces. My favorite pillar from the film was detasking.
Yeah.
And detasking the police, and that's gonna have to be supplemented with community action, community organizing. We can actually help that effort by initiating, community self defense, or any type of trainings. We take care of each other. So if we're gonna step into that power, let's organize, and we can actually help. Detask as groups out there in Detroit, Detroit Disability Power. They can they actually have some type of direction to go and can be of asset because they can help out with the mental health, situations and things of that nature. So those pillars, I believe it gave our community the next steps, a direction to go towards, or even how to build a coalition to actually combat these pillars of power.
Mm.
And one of the organizers was so moved, they actually were inspired to host their own watch party. Vicky from Coalition for Police Transparency and Accountability. And, they do some of the work that was actually mentioned in the film, but them having actual examples, them actually being able to reference the film, like, hey, these are the pillars of power that we can work around and take our organizing to the next level. I, right on,
Mm.
a round of applause. It
No, thank
really
you.
made a big impact. We had people stopping off the street just to come see, ask what's going on, what movie is this.
Mm. Very cool. Very
Hmm.
cool. Um, but before we get to this last part, I just wanted to, where can people reach you? Where can people follow you? And how can people support you?
Oh, so we're trying to get like on most of the mainstream social platforms. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can reach us General Strike U.S. Detroit. If you type that in, more than likely will come up, or hashtag General Strike US. You should be able to find us. Yeah, and we typically keep our link tree in our social platforms. So if you ever came across, one of our pages, you can have access to our welcome packet. Any events that we have coming up, things of that nature. And a DM is always welcome. I always try to reach out. If you have any comments, feel free to comment on there. I'm just, I'm coming to you as a human, a worker just like you. It's a mutual solidarity. This is a collective effort. So I would love to hear from anyone that would like to connect.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah. Great. Great. Thank you. So just the last part, because you mentioned spirituality a few times, and
Mm,
there was a post this morning that really struck me on on your Instagram,
mm,
um, that said, and I'm reading it off my phone.
no problem.
Enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier. Enlightenment is the crumbling away of untruth. It's seeing through the facade of pretense. It's the complete eradication of everything we imagine to be true. And
Hmm.
I read that, I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. Because
Hmm.
coming from the personal development world was all and systems of white supremacy and all of that, like it was always taught that enlightenment was this thing to achieve where you've mastered everything, right? It's like a
Yeah.
hierarchical thing, and the way that was said was really profound. So if you have anything else to share about that, I would love to hear it, because that was really fantastic.
No problem. The main thing I like to add to that is, the saying when they say ignorance is bliss.
Mhm.
And it's so true. And I think that we need to move away from, the I don't know how the soft aspect of what enlightenment is. It's difficult, especially if you're going about it on your own. Um, for me, my awakening, you can call enlightenment the awakening, and that's what we're all experiencing now. The revolution is the great awakening. We're all going through that phases of enlightenment. We're all decolonizing our mind. And I think a lot of people fear it because the truth is unpopular. It's a hard pill to swallow. So I think most try to stay complacent in that ignorance.
Yeah.
Because it sounds good. We're in the land of the free, we're the greatest country ever. Okay, it sounds good, but dig deeper. Why is it pushed so hard? Why Do they try to define what freedom is to you from birth? We have to go through this enlightenment stage. And, while I've been going through it, I've been redefining what freedom really is. And, freedom, success, to me, it all boils down to community. It all boils down to, when the Black Panthers coined the term, all power to the people, not power over people, but power to control our own destinies and our own communities. And that's even hinting at natural law as well. We are capable of doing so. We are capable of governing our own mentals and our own communities.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you
No
for that.
problem.
Yeah. Daii, it's been really great talking to you and having you on the show. And yeah, it's just an honor and a pleasure. So thank you for being here.
Right on. Thank you for having me.
Wow, thank you so much for listening in. That was a really incredible conversation, and I hope you all got as much out of it, if not more, than I did. So I'm really moved. So thank you for listening in. Please like, subscribe, share, uh, follow Conversations for the People on Instagram, and watch Reimagining Safety, reimaginingsafetymovie.com, Reimagining Safety Movie on Instagram. Follow Daii Dreamiin. We'll put all of those contact points in the show notes, but also, like Daii was saying, if you Google General Strike U.S, generalstrike.us, Detroit, all of their stuff will come up, and then you can follow Daii Dreamiin as well through those channels. So once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. And until next time, all power to the people.